You know, I don't throw the term expert around loosely, but when it comes to my next guest and when it comes to NBA basketball, he is everything and then some. Super stoked to talk with Kevin Danna, the voice of the Santa Cruz Warriors. We're talking about all the newbies. There are new players. There is even a new coach. We're breaking all that down next. This is Locked On Warriors.
You are Locked On Warriors, your daily Golden State Warriors podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Thank you for making Locked On Warriors your first listen every day. We're free and available wherever you get podcasts and on YouTube, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. You can follow Kevin Danna, the voice of the Santa Cruz Warriors, on Twitter at Kevo408. You can follow me. I'm hyping up Threads, man. I'm going to be there once Threads gets their act together. It's a full-time thing, so I'm promoting my handle there now. You can follow me on Threads at Dog Wild, still on Twitter at Dog Surf Roadshow. Kevin, it is great to see you. You've had a busy summer, dude, and you're covering like a lot of different teams. Obviously, the Santa Cruz Warriors are your club. The Golden State Warriors are your club. Victor Wembanyama became your adopted son for the last year or so. How have you been, man, before you get into Warriors? How's life treating you?
Yeah, it's cool, man. You know, yeah, it has been a busier summer than anticipated, which is both good and bad. I'm really trying to do absolutely nothing for a while. You seen Office Space?
Of course.
Cyrus? Okay.
Of course.
So when what was his name? Peter Gibson or something like that says, he said, you know what I would do with $1 million? Absolutely nothing. That's
exactly
how I feel. Like,
that's my mantra, bro. I'm all about doing nothing and then more nothing. That's my life, and it makes me happy.
So hopefully there's a little bit of time in August where I can do absolutely nothing. That would be the hope. But yeah, no, it's been cool. Yeah, Vegas was fun. It was long. It was 10 days, but yeah, no, it was fun.
I love it. Well, it's good to see you. So is this not is this not a period of nothingness for you right now? You're still busy?
It is not a period of complete nothingness. I do some work for a women's semi-pro league in the Bay Area, the WPBA, which is based in Alameda.
Okay.
So I broadcast a couple of games every Saturday for them. Fun and upcoming league. So I do some work there. And then, yeah, just, other stuff kind of in the pipeline that I'm not at liberty to discuss right now. Like, not state secrets or anything.
Well, we're talking
maybe some UFOs, like the House meeting that they're having going on today.
Well, we'll talk off the air because you got me curious. AC, by the way, writes, you don't need $1 million to do nothing. You kind of do, man. I mean, rent's not cheap. Mortgages aren't cheap. Food isn't cheap. All these apps and internet you're subscribing to isn't cheap. It's actually expensive to do nothing. So I don't agree. But Bruce Morrow writes that you have a museum behind you. We're gonna get to the Warriors.
So let me explain, everyone. You are looking in my childhood bedroom. I'm taking care of my dad right now because my mom's out of town. So this is where I slept growing up. So yeah, you can see by the logos of the Dallas Mavericks and the Phoenix Suns and the Golden State Warriors and the Houston Rockets that these are old banners, right?
Gotcha.
Like those from the early 90s. You can't, let me see. You might be able to see some of my mini helmets. If I turn this way, I have all 32 NFL teams. Got to move my head.
Oh, I see them in the case. You have them in a case.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
If you're listening to this on the podcast, you got to check out YouTube so you can see Kevin Danna's childhood, his boyhood room. What's on the ceiling? What do you got taped up there? Is a
Oh yeah, so posters from from Digital Blasphemy. Well, it was a great digital wallpaper website. Yeah, I mean, if you want to know why I'm 36 and single, just look at my childhood bedroom. Gives you a good idea.
There you go, man. All right. Thank you for giving us some insights into your personal life. I love it. You're I don't know where you're born, but you were raised in San Jose.
San Jose, baby. Born and raised.
Born. There you go. Well, the Golden State Warriors, it's been a while since you've come on the program. Last time you were on, you weren't able to talk about a lot of things because a lot of the signings that the Warriors made was not official. You're an employee of the Golden State Warriors. There are strict rules. totally get it. That's okay. But now everything's official. Now you can talk about it. But before we get to the players, I want to talk first about a coach. Now Monty Poole of NBC Sports Bay Area tweeted out 2 days ago that his sources are telling him that Chris Weems, a player development coach, I believe a former head coach of the Santa Cruz Warriors, he's being elevated to Jama Malalaila's former job on the bench, basically the number 2 man behind Steve Kerr and then behind Kenny Atkinson. I'm guessing a lot of folks have no idea what he's about. I don't know what he brings to the table. Maybe a lot of people may even feel that his position is not that important. If that's your opinion, I wholeheartedly disagree with you there. I find that position, what Jama Malalaila was doing, what his predecessors were doing, that's important work. Steve Kerr does rely on his assistants. What is your reaction to Chris Weems? The floor is yours, sir. Take it away.
Yeah, so A, I'm happy to be able to talk about players. B, I know Chris Weems very well. While it may or may not be official per se, like I can still talk about what I know about Chris Weems and everything, since he is on the staff and all that. So I'll dance around a little of the red tape and do this as best I can without jeopardizing my spot with the C-Dubs. But
Sounds good.
I love Chris Weems. He was our head coach from 2019 to 2021. Just a guy who gets it, I would say, is the best way to, So
he's smart. You trust him.
No, smart dude. I mean, so he played at Stanford. He was on their Final Four team. He's a native of Kansas City.
Wait, that's the team with Adam Keefe? Right? Or
no,
is that his name?
Keefe is older than him.
Okay.
Mark Madsen. He was on like the Mark Madsen team.
Oh.
The Arthur Lee was the point guard.
Yeah. Okay. Yes.
Tim Young, who was a former Golden State Warriors second-round draft pick in the late 90s. So that was the team that he played on.
Mike Montgomery was a coach of that team, right?
Yeah, Mike Montgomery, former Warriors head coach, former Cal and Stanford head coach.
Yeah, dude.
So he's I mean, he just obviously is a smart dude. He went to Stanford. He handles players very well. Like, he's not afraid to have tough conversations, and he's not afraid to have tough conversations with like the most important players on the team. I know this from experience from like times in Santa Cruz where he's had to pull guys aside. We're like, hey, either A, you're not pulling your weight, or B, like, let's have a man-to-man, a heart-to-heart. So he's not afraid to have those kind of conversations. Has a really good, what I'd say, a professional sideline demeanor. Like, he's not one of those college coaches he's not one of the, if you watch like a college basketball game, not every coach is like this, but like the traditional college basketball head coach is like ranting and raving on the sidelines. You're thinking about like a Bobby Knight, or like even a Sean Miller today, great coaches, but like, there's just like sweat dripping from them. Like, Sean Miller's not going to throw a chair, but like, just like super, super freaking intense. It's like, he's got he's more of like the Mark Daigneault, the Oklahoma City Thunder head coach, just kind of like, more of that professional vibe of like, all right, more analytical of what's going on instead of being so emotionally attached to everything, like to every single possession. Like, don't get me wrong, he cares, he really, but like it's not like he's going to just like lose his mind on an 8-0 run or something like, and it wouldn't be his job to lose his mind on an 8-0 run on the Golden State bench, but like, good sideline demeanor, never really had a moment with the media in Santa Cruz where he was like flustered or upset with it. Like, he knows how to handle himself. That the best thing I can say about like Chris Weems, or maybe not the best, but like he just knows how to handle himself.
Gotcha.
And so, I think this guy, should get all the flowers he can. I am a big, big, big Chris Weems fan. Awesome dude. Like, just beyond that, beyond like the coaching stuff, just like a great guy, and someone I really enjoyed, getting a chance to chat with for those 2 seasons. Led the Santa Cruz Warriors to the G League semifinals in the bubble after a 1-3 start. He really helped develop Jordan Poole that year, right? Like, Jordan Poole played 11, 12 games in the bubble that season for the Santa Cruz Warriors.
Right.
And remember, it was his second season. It was very roller coaster start to his second season. And when he came back from Santa Cruz, he was a different dude. We saw it in Jordan Poole's rookie year.
Right.
Rough start to his rookie year. 3 games with the Santa Cruz Warriors. Were coached by Chris Williams at the time. Came back and was a much better player over like the last 27, 28 games pre-March 11th, Oklahoma City Thunder, Utah Jazz. Let's shut down the world. So
yeah, that great moment in life. Absolutely. I'm being facetious. But no, so I want to break down Chris Weems, and we're obviously going to talk about all the other new players, Chris Paul, the draft picks, Dario Saric, and so much more. Got to give some love first to FanDuel, the official sports book of the Locked On Podcast Network. And right now it's baseball season. When I'm sweating like this in my own house, that means it's summer. That means baseball is cracking. Take your first swing at betting on Major League Baseball on FanDuel and get 10 times your first bet amount in bonus bets up to $200. That's right. Just bet $20 and you'll land $200 in bonus bets, whether you win or lose. That's $200 you could spend betting everything from the money line to the over-under to who you think is going to hit the first home run. And it's all on an app that's safe, secure, and super easy to use. Plus, when you win, you get paid instantly. I know FanDuel is still illegal here in California, where we broadcast Locked On Warriors. I've tried it out in other states. I want my FanDuel. If you could play with FanDuel now, you are stoked. And there's no better place to bet on Major League Baseball than FanDuel. America's number
one. Get you a VPN, Cyrus.
It's the VPN. Well, have you tried that? Are you
I had to do it in grad school. Like, for some reason, we needed a VPN for something. So I've been on the I don't have one now, but if you want, maybe I shouldn't be giving this advice out on Locked On Warriors.
Whatever.
But,
you're the guest.
Baby.
There might be ethical issues if I'm sending that message. You're fine, dude. So I'm curious. I thought for some reason someone had told me that FanDuel was VPN proof. If they're
really?
Not,
I don't know. See, I can't gamble on sports, so I don't know. I'm just I know people use VPNs to gamble. Say they're not in the United States for like poker purposes or whatever. But.
Well, yeah, you're a poker player, and look, FanDuel is loving what you're saying right now, Kevin. So there's no issues. There's no better place to bet on Major League Baseball than FanDuel. Sign up today. Visit FanDuel.com/lockedon and get your VPN. So even here in California, you might be able to play to get up to $200 in bonus bets. That's FanDuel.com/lockedon. That's a fantastic advertising opportunity, by the way. Follow this ad with a VPN client. That would be your package there, folks. Locked On. Get on that. FanDuel, the official partner of Major League Baseball.
You are Locked On Warriors, your daily Golden State Warriors podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Thank you for making Locked On Warriors your first listen every day. For the everydayers, that's folks who chime in and tune in for literally every show we do. Follow us on Twitter at Locked On Dubs. That's where we announce all our show times, upcoming guests. Still awaiting word on a Warriors assistant coach who's going to join the program soon. As soon as the scheduling is finalized, it's happening. Yeah, Kevin, we're actually going to get a member of the Golden State Warriors coaching staff on this show, which is pretty wild. You can follow the voice of the Santa Cruz Warriors, Kevin Dana, on Twitter at Kevo408. Bruce Morrow, real fast, FanDuel or Prize Picks, which one is better? They're just different. Prize Picks is all about over-unders on individuals. It is legal in California. FanDuel is your general sports gambling website and gambling, period. You can do poker like what Kevin Dana loves. Kev's BTRFLI writes, love your shirt, Kevin.
Thank
is that
you.
Biggie Smalls?
It's like that. It's that classic Biggie one that you see, right? Like in the different colors and stuff like that. So
love it, man.
Thank you for the shout out.
So Tim Ford has a criticism of current #1 Warriors assistant Kenny Atkinson, calling him a computer coach, and the only reason I brought that up is because it raised a question in my mind, which I want to ask you, Kevin. What kind of is Chris Weems analytical based? Is he more of a motivational style coach? Is he both? How would you describe him more specifically in that regard in terms of analytics?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how to answer that one super well, but I would say I've seen more analytical coaches in Santa Cruz, and I've seen more emotional coaches too. Like
Okay.
I think he kind of hits a nice happy medium. Like obviously, like if you're coaching in the Golden State Warriors organization, you got to have a handle on analytics. Like you just do. But like it doesn't come across to me like when I was talking with Chris Weems that like that's the only thing he cares about. Like he was a player himself at a very high level.
Right.
Like he knows how to connect on that level, and he just knows kind of like the flow of the game and stuff like that. So I would push back a little bit on the can't we get rid of computer coach. Right on, Mr. Holder. Yeah, no, great shirt. But I mean, weren't we all singing Kenny's praises when they won the 2022 NBA title, and like it was seen as like a huge coup to keep him from being the Charlotte Hornets head coach?
My
all right,
halftime
so
changed.
like one season later, when they finished in the top 8 of the NBA, now all of a sudden we want to like skewer this guy? I don't understand it. Like, I generally
in the NBA in terms of record, they were top 8. Is that correct?
Well, I mean, they made it to the quarterfinals.
So I see what you're saying.
Top
okay,
8
I hear
of the world, the NBA.
I hear you.
And therefore the world of basketball. But like I generally think unless you are a coach or a player who has played Division I at the or division, some level of college basketball, at the very least, I don't think that we necessarily have all the tools to correctly criticize coaches.
Interesting.
Like, because I just don't think we know the game well enough to say, like, there are some people who, yeah, they really know the game. I know I don't know the game well enough to say, oh, this coach sucks, or like this guy blows, or stuff like. And so, like, I find a lot of it just kind of like, well, what evidence do you really have to say this guy sucks? And I know I defer a lot to coaches and players because I've like been on that side as a manager. Certainly not a thinking man's position, a yes sir, no sir, yes coach, no coach kind of job.
Right.
And so I just know that those people will forget more basketball than I'll ever know. And so, yeah, I always kind of pause when I say, oh, this coach is the problem or that coach is the probably not.
Well, here's I think where the angst came from, and here's where criticism started to emerge from my perspective. One is we didn't know until very late in the season just how analytics driven Atkinson is, and then there was an attribution that came out very late in the year last year where Steve Kerr revealed that him and Kenny Atkinson have daily conversations about analytics, and that Kenny Atkinson is his analytics guy, and that he's leaning on him heavily to rely on these numbers. And then from there, when you saw the fact that you're right, the Warriors did finish in the top 8, you could also make the argument, though, that they underachieved. This was a reigning world champion.
1,000. So I 1,000% agree with that. They should have been much better than 44 and 38. That team should have won at least 50 games last year. I'm not debating that.
And then there's the fact that Kenny Atkinson was promoted to be the defensive coordinator this last year, and their defense regressed. I'm just trying to explain why the criticism is being directed toward Kenny Atkinson. You're right. 2 years ago, people were ecstatic that they retained him, that he didn't accept, that he didn't take the job in Charlotte, came back, and then a year later, again, times changed tremendously. And then another thing that stuck out too is I don't know if you remember in the playoffs, JaMychal Green, he had that exemplary game 3. And then he got on that shouting match with Atkinson on the sideline, and there was just a lot of little things that kind of added up.
I forgot the shouting match with Atkinson. Wait, game 3 against the Lakers or the Kings?
It was Lakers. I don't know if it was game 3. If it was
it was game 2, right? The game they won where he just like went off, right?
Yes. Yeah, it was a 2.
So I was at the game, so like I didn't see like the TV footage of.
Yeah, JaMychal got yanked, and then and then him and Kenny had this back and forth where they were just shouting at each other. JaMychal, I think, did come back in the game later, and then we never saw him again in the series. The last year was just a mess. I think it's just best to move on, right? But anyways, what are your last time we had you on? We didn't get a chance to talk about Chris Paul that much. Are we moving on from Chris Weems? By the way, I guess let me finish up with this. Are you happy with Chris Weems being one of the top assistants for Steve Kerr? Your final thoughts before we move on from that.
Well, like I said, if it hasn't been announced, then I can't like officially say if he is No, like I think Chris Williams is a heck of a coach, and I think like he's definitely deserving of some promotion.
There you go. There you go. And
Yeah.
I'm absolutely loving what I'm hearing so far. So Chris Weems, and again, I'm going to try to get him on the show. In fact, I'm very curious to pick his brain now that apparently we're slowly climbing the ladder with the Warriors organization in terms of guest bookings. So assistant coaches right now seem to be a green light. So I'm going to try to get Chris on the show soon. But right now we got Kevin Dana. You haven't had a chance to share your thoughts on Chris Paul. Let's start there. And he's been in the news for a few reasons. Draymond Green made some comments about him and Chris Paul have had battles in the past. That was real life. It wasn't faked on the court, the animosity between the two, but now they're teammates. Chris Paul has been non-committal in terms of his role. He was asked about whether or not he would come off the bench. He was non-committal to that. We all know his resume. Anyone who follows basketball knows how good of a player he is. They're also aware maybe of his age, his injury history. What are your thoughts with Chris Paul now being a member of the Golden State Warriors?
Yeah, I mean, at first I was sad to lose Jordan Poole. Like my knee-jerk reaction, I was actually buying my Chevy Bolt when it happened, when the news broke.
Congratulations.
I got an electric car, everyone. You can all congratulate me. Thank you. I'm saving the planet single-handedly.
I remember the day you were busy getting a car, so you got a Chevy Bolt?
Yeah, so I got a Chevy Bolt with a B, not a V. The V is the hybrid, which I don't think they make anymore. But
congrats.
So yeah, thank you. So like, I mean, I love Jordan Poole. Like, and I understand why people got frustrated with Jordan Poole. I am of the belief that you have to live with those growing pains because not everyone has the cojones to take the shots that Jordan Poole takes.
True.
That being said, I do think it makes a lot of sense what Golden State did. Like, $120 million is a lot to have on the books.
Yes.
And
agreed.
you move off that long-term deal, which is huge for Golden State to have that flexibility. Because, like, worst case scenario, Chris Paul's injured, it doesn't work out. Okay, you're committed to him for this season and this season only. But if it does work out, then cool. Maybe we can work a little something. Appreciate that, DP.
Yeah.
But yeah, so like, I mean, I think it makes a lot of sense. And especially if Steve Kerr likes to play veterans, this is going to, assuming a healthy Chris Paul, he's still got something in the tank. Like when he was healthy last year, he was pretty damn good. Still pretty damn good. Like this guy's a 12-time All-Star. And if he can, like, if they come to an understanding, a mutual understanding about how many minutes per game he's playing, I think this could really work out. I think if you can get 1,200-ish minutes out of him next year, I think that would be a nice goal to have. That's 20 minutes a game for 60 games. Or, you know, if he plays a little fewer than 60 games, just load management and stuff, you know, these low to mid 20s minutes wise. I mean, that's a great guy to have playing that kind of minutes, and then you ramp it up in the playoffs. Well, I personally would not want to mess with the starting lineup because last year, for all the warts the Warriors had last year, that starting 5 unit was one of the best in the NBA.
The best.
They just didn't get a chance to play a whole lot together.
Yeah.
But, like, I don't think you tinker with that personally. But, like, if they do decide to start Chris Paul, if Chris Paul starts, like, I also don't think that is, like, a huge negative because he's one of the best point guards of all time.
Right.
And, like, I don't think he's going to be playing mid-30s minutes-wise because – just where he is at in his career. He averaged 32 minutes a game last year. I like he wouldn't be playing more than that this year. So, I think there are a lot of positives with this CP3 deal. And look, Draymond Green's a professional. I know, like, obviously there was the punch with Jordan Poole, and he's had his moments with Kevin Durant and everyone. But, like, he knows, like, when it's time to win, he knows to put stuff aside, right? Like, Chris Paul and Stephen Curry, like, they obviously have a relationship going back to when he was at Davidson and everything. So, like, look, I don't expect there to be huge blowups between Draymond Green and Chris Paul, or Steph and Chris Paul, or Clay and CP3. Like, I'm not super concerned about that.
And just to piggyback off that, Chris Paul just last year as a 37-year-old player still averaged 32 minutes per game. I do not see that clip being maintained with the Warriors. I would expect more in the 25 range, keeping him fresh for the postseason. I had Dr. Nirav Pandya on this show, and I asked him, given the exemplary track record that Rick Celebrini has had as the head of the medical department for the Warriors, I thought a perfect case study was Otto Porter Jr., a player who was injury prone tremendously for much of his career, much more so than Chris Paul. And Celebrini had a plan for him where 25 minutes was the max, even in the postseason. We never saw him play more than 25, kept him fresh by not having him in back-to-backs. And I asked Dr. Pandya whether a similar pattern could be established with Chris Paul, and he thought, absolutely. He envisioned that being the similar strategy going forward with Chris Paul. So I'm with you. I think that if they play it smart, he will be available and ready for them, especially come the postseason.
And if I may add, Cyrus,
please,
I think that's why Corey Joseph is a really good signing for this team.
Dude.
Because, like, Steph's probably going to play, if he's healthy the whole year, he's going to play, 70 games maybe? Chris Paul, if he's healthy the whole year, probably like mid-60s at best. You're going to need a minutes eater, like an innings eater on the mound in baseball, just someone who's going to get you through, a doubleheader on a day. Look, like maybe you're getting your asses kicked 8-2, but someone needs to get some outs. ERA be damned. Like, Corey Joseph is more like a really, really good third-string point guard to have. And he's coming off a season in which he shot like 39% from three, and still gave you 7 points and 3.5 assists or something like that, and a 3.9 assist to turnover ratio, 3.88, I think it was technically. I'll round that up to 3.9 for in my state run take. So yeah, like I think he's huge to have. Like, I think Corey Joseph probably is gonna start a handful of games next year for Golden State.
I
think he's going to have to.
I love that signing.
And then look, maybe he plays 4 minutes a game in the playoffs, but like, you need someone to get you through the 82.
No, absolutely. And now I can criticize Ty Jerome without you squirming, Kevin.
I love Ty Jerome. I still love Ty Jerome.
I know, I'm sure you do, but I'm sure it was hard for you as I'm blasting him, you being an employee of the Warriors. It was probably putting you in a weird spot, but he's no longer an employee of the Warriors. All I will say is this. I think Corey Joseph is a vast upgrade from Ty Jerome. Here's the main reason why I blasted Ty Jerome so much, Kevin, and I don't know if you disagree with me on this or not. To me, if you want to be an NBA player, your strengths cannot be passing and ball handling. Those have to be secondary strengths.
He's also a 40% three-point shooter.
In a very small sample size, though. I mean, we're not seeing that number at a high clip, And here's where, like, I put the theory to test in terms of Ty Jerome last year. Every time he had a good game, I changed my Twitter handle to Cy Jerome. That Twitter handle never stayed active for consecutive games because he would have this great game, and I'm like, all right, I'll start buying in. And then he lay an egg the very next game. He might have been a 50, 40, 90 guy. I get it, but the sample size was so damn small. We'll see. We'll see how he does in Cleveland, but I'm relieved that Corey Joseph is now part of this team. There's a lot of were you doing some? Do you want to add something to that before we move on?
No, he was 39% from three. I oversold him a little bit. I apologize for the misinformation campaign.
A whopping percentage point. I think you're going to be forgiven for that. And look, the team loved him. I mean, we just saw a clip last week of Klay Thompson. I think he was in New York or somewhere in a gym shooting with Ty Jerome. There's no doubt as a chemistry guy, he was a fantastic fit. But to me, if you can't score efficiently or you can't play defense efficiently, for a team that's trying to win a championship, it's just not good enough for me. But it's all a moot point now, so it doesn't matter. We're gonna I'm gonna turn this into a two-part show. Sit tight. I'm gonna play the open again,